recent 9 transmission. My apologies, my sincerest apologies. My stream crashed, and the reason why it crashed was I now have fiber broadband, and I've set everything up to run on a fiber broadband on the application I use and the camera, but unfortunately YouTube can't seem to cope with what I can now do, so I'm having to make some adjustments. So please, that's what's gone on. My I had fiber. The fiber man came just before on the 23rd, so I got very excited, and of course the stream crashed. So nothing more than that. I haven't elongated my intro or anything like that. And for those of you who are new who say, Raja, why the 10-minute intro? Why can't you just get on with it? 2 reasons. One, I'm belatedly setting things up and trying to make sure things are working and tapping them and turning things on and off. And the other thing is I have, in the main, and I say this with love, I have in the main a lot of elderly viewers who message me with, I've not got this working, I've not got that working, and so on and so on. So we do a little bit of technical assistance in the background whilst the countdown plays. So that's really the main reason why it's no more than that. And of course, we are a community, and I do enjoy you all saying hello to each other and hello to me. So that's always nice, and I do. If you don't want it, you can just wait for 10 minutes, can't you? Or once you watch, if you're watching this recorded, I edit out the intro anyway, so it starts around about here. Okay, lots of serious stuff to get through. Well, I'm in my 50s, so I've decided it's not age. I decided it's anyone who holds a remote control and bashes the buttons like my dad used to do is old, and I'm like that with my mobile phone. So maybe that's what it is. I have spent Christmas working in the main. I've done 2 main pieces of work. My intention is to share one with you tomorrow, the day after, and it is significant, and the other one on New Year's Day. So that's my intention of how we're going to work this through. Of course, if you remember, it was New Year's Day last year, the one that's just gone, that exploded all of this into the national and international space. And prior to that, we'd spent over 6 years. So I thought New Year's Day would be apt for that. But today we're going to take a slight sidestep for some of it. But it's all relevant, and it's all interconnected. And it has always all been interconnected. So if you followed my work, you'll see that there are 3 or 4 strands that I constantly make reference to, and I think they overlap and they originate from the same place, and if left to their own devices, they will take us to the same place that will damn all of us, unless we do something about it. So without further ado, let me bring one of my devices closer to me, and press a button. Here we go. So this came out just before Christmas. 3 men have been convicted for a foiled terrorist plot targeting the Jewish community in Manchester. Assistant Chief Constable Robert Potts, quote, "This was one of the most significant plot disruptions in recent years. The consequences could have been devastating." And these are these 3 guys: Walid Sadoui, Ammar Hussain, and Bilal Sadusi. So that's Walid and Bilal are, of course, brothers. And what I'm going to do is bring up the press release from Greater Manchester Police, and I'm going to play the interview but from the Chief Constable, because I watched all of this unfold, and I just found it so disheartening. So disheartening. So let me bring up the... You can see, Greater Manchester Police. 3 men convicted after CTPNW, so it's the Counter-Terrorist Police Northwest, investigation into anti-Semitic terror plot in Greater Manchester. 2 brothers and another man have been convicted in connection with a foiled terrorist plot intended to target the Jewish community in Greater Manchester. The following were convicted at Preston Crown Court today, so that's the 23rd of December. Walid Sadoui, Amer Hussein, Bilal Sadoui. In late 2023, Walid came into online contact with a man he believed shared extremist views like his own. The pair frequently exchanged messages, and it soon became clear that Sadoui was keen to conduct a significant terrorist attack targeting Jewish people. However, unbeknown to him, Sadoui was actually in contact with an undercover operative, later identified in court proceedings as Farouk, to protect his identity. Sadoui would later introduce Farouk to Amer Hussein, an individual considered to be like-minded and also looking to be involved with the plot. The two would be terrorists believed that Farouk could import automatic firearms from abroad which could be used in an attack. Over the coming months, the two developed their plans and between them conducted reconnaissance upon Upper Broughton in Salford, as well as visited the port of Dover to observe the border they believed that the illegal firearms would be transported through. Throughout the course of the undercover operation, it became clear that Walid had discussed his plans with his brother, Bilal. He openly discussed his brother's awareness of the plot with Farouk and later confessed that he had done so during cross-examination, despite initially denying it when questioned. The trio have been remanded and will face sentencing at Preston Crown Court. Assistant Chief Constable Rob Potts, who holds operational responsibility for counter-terrorism policing Northwest, said, "Today marks the culmination of one of the most significant terrorist plot disruptions we have seen in the UK for several years. Walid Sadoui and Amer Hussein intended to target members of the Jewish community in an evil act born out of hate and intolerance. If they had been successful, then what followed would have been devastating and potentially one of the deadliest terrorist attacks to ever take place on UK soil. Although Walid's brother Bilal was not an active participant in preparation for this plot, he knew what was planned but chose to remain silent, and this is simply not good enough. Our operation involved the use of an undercover operative who put himself in significant danger each time he met with the two would-be terrorists. At any point he could have been a target himself, but he risked his safety in the name of wider public protection, and we're sincerely grateful for him for the role he played. The case has come at a time of heightened concern and anxiety within the Jewish community, particularly since the terrorist attack which took place in October and recent events in Sydney. We have worked closely with stakeholders, including the Community Security Trust, throughout the trial to address any concerns and provide reassurance. We are dedicated to making sure all communities feel safe from the threat of terrorism and bringing those who would seek to harm them to justice. We work closely alongside key partners to do this, and I hope that the significant outcome from this highly resourced, proactive investigation underlines that commitment. The scale of this operation was huge, and I want to say a thank you to all those involved, as we would not be here without these efforts." Greater Manchester Police Chief Constable Sir Stephen Watson, QPM, said, and excuse me, I'm reading this word for word for a reason. Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. "I want to begin by thanking the investigation." In fact, I'll play the video for that. And these are the guys. Okay. So it seems, despite the machine guns you've seen and stuff on it, it seems that they were well controlled right from the outset. It was a sting operation, no different really than the online paedophile hunters who set these men up, lure them out, and the machine guns and stuff were clearly, provided by the police, I think. But that's by the by. If these men could have got hold of those weapons, I'm sure they would have got hold of them, and if they could have used them, they would have used them. I want to play Sir Stephen Watson. It's preparing the video, it seems, so give me a second. Whilst it prepares that video, I'll give me a minute. Do you see why I have my 10 minutes and I still get it wrong? If it doesn't work here, I'll find out another way of doing it. Just give me a second. Let me see if I can find it directly on YouTube. No. We'll have to wait for this. Oh, it's making its progress. I'll talk to all of you whilst we are waiting for that. When I spent time in this, I feel if anything, the numbers were increasing. Is what my experiences were. If anything, the numbers were increasing, and more, instead of fewer and fewer people being radicalized and buying into this extremist ideology, it was more and more. And that's long before this latest wave of pro-Palestinian sort of the issue itself, regardless of whether you agree with the issue or disagree with the issue, put your views to one side on that. What is clearly taking place is that the issue is being used to exploit thousands, tens of thousands, to a space that they are more likely to be radicalized. So I think that is what is taking place without a shadow of a doubt. This video has just loaded. I think I'm just about to finish loading. And they video him where he walks in. So he walks in, or you can see, it makes him look like, some sort of a anytime now, please. Preparing video. Here we go.
I must start by thanking the investigation team from Counter-Terrorism Policing Northwest and the Crown Prosecution Service for helping to bring these extraordinarily dangerous terrorists to justice. I am grateful for the professionalism, commitment, and the sheer hard work of the investigation team. They were also well supported by specialist assets from Greater Manchester Police and beyond. They have meticulously delivered upon an operation of almost unprecedented complexity. Their work has ensured that the terrorists' vicious anti-Semitism did not manifest itself in the destructive fashion that they fully intended. It was clear throughout this trial that the scale of the offenders' hatred toward our Jewish community knew no bounds. They sought to bring slaughter to the innocent, but the outstanding dedication and commitment of our people ensured that this unequivocally could not happen. All too recently in Sydney, and of course here in Manchester in October, in the very week before this trial began, we have felt the devastation of terrorism directed toward our Jewish community. A terrorist attack upon our Jewish friends and neighbours is an attack upon us all and is an affront to every decent person in our country. Today we are again reminded of the harm that real hatred seeks to cause. However, I am also clear that we once again see the tireless and effective work of UK law enforcement in seeking to keep our communities safe. We are not and can never be complacent, and our work with partners such as the Community Security Trust and others is vital as we work day in, day out to protect the good people of Greater Manchester. GMP continues to listen and engage with all of our communities to ensure that people can feel secure across our city region regardless of their race, religion or creed. I know that all of us can unite in our thanks to the jury for their time and commitment over the course of these last 2 months and for reaching today's verdict. I hope that it provides some relief and comfort to our Jewish community and all of the people of Greater Manchester that justice has been served. I thank you.
Honestly, that was painful. And whatever that accent is, I have no idea. I have no love for Stephen Watson. Is Sir Stephen Watson now no doubt rewarded because of his role in helping the politicians across Greater Manchester in managing, let's say, the fallout from the grooming gang scandal. Not the police themselves are neck deep in. Remember, Maggie Oliver is on record confirming that a serving police officer is involved in the rape gangs in Greater Manchester. We now know police officers in South Yorkshire are, in Rotherham. And of course the police are complicit in what's took place. It's not possible for what has taken place to have taken place without the complicity of the police. So I read out a statement from the Assistant Chief Constable, and you listened to the Chief Constable himself. In the official text, the focus is on the convictions of the 3 men, the fact that they planned a terrorist attack, and I quote this, intended to target the Jewish community. Law enforcement, Farouk, is praised for the undercover operation, and they are keen to provide reassurances about community safety. That's the upshot of all of that. Nowhere in the written statement or what Watson has just said there do either of them name Islamic State, ISIS, or explain that the plot was inspired by a specific extremist ideology, and that is radical Islam, the Islamists. Nowhere. Nowhere do they describe why the plot was driven by the Islamists or the beliefs behind what they were doing. Nowhere. And nowhere does either senior police officer, and these are the most senior police officers in Greater Manchester, one's high up in counter-terrorism, and this guy's Sir Stephen Watson, a chief constable. Nowhere do they clarify the ideological motive beyond vague references to hate and intolerance. This isn't just a significant omission. This is, he used the word unprecedented. He pronounced it different to how I do it. But what I've just witnessed here is beyond comprehension. They cannot even when we've arrested and convicted these people, caught them red-handed in a sting operation where they wanted to take machine guns onto the streets of Manchester to kill Jewish people, even then, our leaders, and these people are our leaders, our leaders cannot say an Islamist threat. No, he didn't say their country of origin, any of that. Didn't even make reference to their religion, nothing. And so there's no ambiguity here. Multiple news outlets have made clear that the plotters were influenced by Islamic State and the ISIS ideology and had pledged allegiance to it. That's confirmed. It's come out of the bloody court transcripts and what's been reported, yet these police officers can't make reference to that. One of the convicted men glorified ISIS and used online accounts to celebrate ISIS-related violence. Their strategy and rhetoric was drawn straight from the jihadist frameworks. For example, targeting Jewish civilians, admiration for past ISIS attacks, and the desire to commit mass murder in the name of their religion. And that's from the bloody Guardian. And Sir Stephen Watson, the chief constable, pussyfoots around the motives of these men and what they believed in and the organization they belonged to. The head of counter-terrorism does the same. Just where the fuck do you think the terrorism comes from? They call it an anti-Semitic terror plot. Well, the anti-Semitism has a motive, doesn't it, Sir Stephen Watson? You want to focus on community reassurance and the seriousness of the threat, but you don't want to tell us where the threat came from? You want to praise the investigative work and undercover operation? Well, maybe these two Muppets, or these three Muppets, were Muppets and fell for your trap. I don't believe that the majority of would-be jihadists would fall for these traps. They refuse to explain the ideological source of the hate that they make reference to. It's left to you to maybe make a connection because they don't make one. And that's what I mean by the ideology that they dare not name. How the institutional language sanitizes the motive, framing it as hate without naming the specific Islamist, extremist worldview. This is not an accident. It is a pattern, and it's a pattern that you can draw a direct connection from these men who are signing up to ISIS and the men who gang raped our children. Will we refuse to call it out for what it is, then we are not providing any reassurance to any community. We are actually emboldening these people. And I want to play another video for you so you understand and see it for what it is. And hopefully this video plays rather than it's loading. I'll find out.
Mashallah, adorable, adorable.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Walaikum assalam.
Are you guys celebrating Christmas?
Sure are.
Beautiful lights, Christmas vibes, it's the best. You do know by celebrating Christmas, you're agreeing that Allah has a son, right? Dad? Is that true?
No, baby, that's not our intentions. So it's okay to celebrate it. Don't listen to her. She's being extreme.
Actually, by participating in this holiday, you're accepting that Allah was born today. But Dad, that's totally haram.
Unbelievable. Why you gotta make Islam so difficult, huh? It's like everything is haram with you guys. Can't I just have a day where I take my kid out, we celebrate by opening some gifts? I mean, what's the harm in that?
I'm glad you asked.
Baby, help me with the Eid decorations.
Yeah, right. I'm done with this!
Whoa.
At this point, celebrating these holidays isn't even about, is it haram? It's about putting your Islamic identity in danger. Dad, Allah's blessed us with Islam. And honestly, that's all we need.
You got that right.
Now you get it. Dad, let's get out of here.
Good idea.
May Allah bless you. Bye.
5 pillars. The organisation we tolerate in this country. The Didi Hassan lot. Who have no love for us or our beliefs or our values. Our values. Forget our beliefs in terms of our religious beliefs, our values. What they're trying to do is push these people, that the tolerance within the mainstream Muslims, those of us who still exist, is somehow anti-Islamic. So wishing you a Merry Christmas is somehow me burning in hell. Well, if that is what happens, then I will have that conversation with my maker when I get there. A friend of mine sent me a WhatsApp screenshot. Let me see if I can find it actually to bring it up. On Christmas Day. Have I got it here? And what these people are pushing, because that's what they are pushing. I've not got it there. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can send it from my phone. I've got it on my phone. he says. Maybe it'll come up. But what these people are pushing. Here it is. Why Muslims do not celebrate Christmas with Quran and Hadith references is complete intolerance. They are pushing complete intolerance and a hatred for who we are, not just as a nation, but the entire West. And these people are here now. And what I've found is that in this intolerance is actually greater with the second, third, fourth generations than it ever was with the first and second. So the longer these people have been here as communities, the more the intolerance towards the host nation has grown. And that's what they want to stop, Jenny, because they want to demonize people like me, people like your Muslim friends, and they want to create this clear separation. Respect without compromise. No to false beliefs. Protect our Tawheed. I don't even think it's a Trojan horse, mate, because they're not hiding. And what chance do we have of our leaders calling this out or challenging this when they can't even speak out against, terrorists who have been convicted of wanting to take machine guns onto the streets of our cities? And to complete this circle, this is the local Christmas card from the Labour Party in my town. Season's greetings, because they won't use the word Christmas. Season's greetings and Happy New Year from your Hollywood Labour team. So the Muslims Councillor Naseem Aslam and the Muslim Dr. Sanya Abid. These Muslims in the Labour Party, endorsed by the Labour Party, will not wish the people of their own ward a Merry Christmas. Which is why this is dangerous.
Okay. MashaAllah, adorable.
Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Walaikum assalam.
Are you guys celebrating Christmas?
Sure are.
Beautiful lights, Christmas vibes, it's the best. You do know by celebrating Christmas, you're agreeing that Allah has a son, right? Dad? Is that true?
No, baby, that's not our intentions. So it's okay to celebrate it. Don't listen to her. She's being extreme.
Actually, by participating in this holiday, you're accepting that Allah was born today. But Dad, that's totally haram.
Unbelievable. Why you gotta make Islam so difficult,
Video
huh? It's like everything is
on.
haram with you guys. Can't I just have a day where I take my kid out, we celebrate by opening some gifts? I mean, what's the harm in that?
I'm glad you asked.
Baby, help me with the Eid decorations.
Yeah, right. I'm done with this!
Whoa!
At this point, celebrating these holidays isn't even about, is it haram? It's about putting your Islamic identity in danger. Allah's blessed us with Islam. And honestly, that's all we need.
You got that right.
Now you get it. Dad, let's get out of here.
Good idea.
May Allah bless you. Bye.
The video is actually on 5 Pillars UK. And we encourage these people. We won't even register the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organisation. It's not, I mean, yeah. It'd be funny if it wasn't serious, but it is serious. And the consequence from our government, in our towns where I live, is let's double down on this and not even have the confidence. It's not even that, is it? Let's pander to this and not have Merry Christmas. There was a video 2 years ago I shared, many of you are new to me, where the leader of the council 3 years ago, Arud Shah, stood up. The chair of the National Constitutional Committee of the Labour Party refused to say Merry Christmas. These people hate you and your way of life. They hate me for supporting you. They do not want integration. Forget assimilation, they don't want integration. They want to create a parallel structure where eventually we move from the unofficial, which is where we are, pretty much, control of parts of the United Kingdom, to a balkanization where the Islamists will rule parts of the United Kingdom. That is where I believe this is going, if we do not act. And we know, as this shows, that the Labour Party are neck deep in this. I'm going to play the next video. Apparently my battery's running low on that, and someone said, Raja, your fiber's not fast enough. No, it's not the fiber. It's this 10-year-old iPad that I'm using. I think it's due an upgrade maybe at some point. Yeah, it's not even thinking the Labour Party have been compromised.
I think that the Islamophobia definition was not really created by Muslims. It was a British think tank at the time, and to adopt that is only to basically take away from the fact that if there are any anti-Muslim hate, to associate that with the criminal acts. Now, the APPG definition does not take away, us discussing any criminal activity. It just takes away the fact that we do not associate these criminal activities with an entire community and group. That's what it really does.
Can I just read you a piece from this guidance? Because it's a very important issue. We're going to have this debate over free speech and free expression. And I'm just going to read it to you. It says, as such, the recourse to the notion of free speech and a supposed right to criticise Islam results in nothing more than another subtle form of anti-Muslim racism, whereby the criticism humiliates, marginalises and stigmatises Muslims. One real-life example of this concerns the issue of grooming gangs. Now, the implication being that if you talk about grooming gangs, you are therefore perceived to be racist against Muslims, and therefore this definition would shut that debate down.
No, because anyone with really having a criminal act, doing anything wrong against the law, should be obviously spoken about. But if you're going to put a microscope on a particular group and only talk about where they come from, when actually there are other social issues that impact the fact that they are actually doing what they're doing, instead of just highlighting. There is a thing in psychology called, sort of distinction of discourse, analysis, discourse analysis. You know that, you're an academic. When we do research, when there's propaganda in media, we highlight certain words, certain things in order to do that.
So can I ask a question on that? Just for example,
Yeah.
if we were living under this definition of Islamophobia, which may well be adopted by the Labour government, how would the debate over the rape gangs have happened? Because presumably people will have said, well, under this definition, you cannot have a national debate linking rape gangs to Pakistani Muslim communities, even though they are disproportionately more likely to be within Pakistani Muslim communities?
Well, I think because we're also making it in a micro sort of conversation, it is much more wider than just calling out their ethnicity, community and background. I'm not from the Pakistani background,
Sure.
okay, and I am a Muslim.
Yeah.
So I also don't want to be seen in a particular way, because even Muslims ourselves believe differently.
Yeah.
So if you're going to just say Islam and Muslims in grooming gangs, you are actually going to incite, a whole community. It's better to say, yes, they do come from this background, but there's also issues. I work with the Ministry of Justice. I work in the grassroots, speaking to people in probation, and they come from all parts of, nationality, ethnicity, whatever it is. There are issues why they do have offences, and that is to do with whether they have mental health, whether their social economic background. I think that's more of a research that we need to put in form.
Mental health and social economic backgrounds are the issues we need to be discussing. Of course, the more I watch GB News, the more it's clear to me that it is of a mind to frame Muslims like this nutcase and promote them rather than people such as myself. She, of course, is talking complete nonsense. And she knows she's talking complete nonsense. What she wants to do is deflect and divert away from the core causes of this. Racially motivated, religiously justified. In terms of the perpetrator communities, those are the two main factors. And also a knowledge that they will get away with it because we're politically protected. And these people suit the narrative that GB News wants to push. And of course, as long as we continue to push and promote views like this, then views like mine are censored and silenced. And the change you want to see from within these communities that I come from and she comes from, we've got no chance. Because I've got no chance. The Islamophobia definition will likely see me arrested and charged and convicted. Because I am clear in my position that these were racially justified crimes. Does that mean I will stop? No. It means we will continue until we remove this government. And a government comes in that has the courage to take what Jess Phillips and her government came out with around misogyny and ask those very questions, not of working class white boys, but within the Pakistani and wider Muslim communities themselves. And if need be, legislate to make sure that those who are aligned with an interpretation of that faith in that way are removed from positions where they can influence and inform young people, which is exactly what they want to do with the Andrew Tate stuff. And my point here, mate, is this. In the places where I come from, more people think like me than think like her. But we do not get platformed in this way. And two, what happens when we do speak out? Who comes for us? Not just the Islamists, but the state itself. I want to play.
I think that the Islamophobia definition was not really created by Muslims. It was a British.
And we all speak to viewers on a daily basis on this channel, and it continuously comes up, this far-right bandwagon notion. People have not forgotten that. I think people will never forget that. And actually, the people that Keir Starmer described in that way, you know, by definition, they were actually, you know, almost like bread and butter, traditionally Labour voters, and I think many of them won't forgive him for that.
And many of them came out of the woodwork because of that comment, and they came to the channel that was really championing this issue and those survivors, which was GB News. And so many new whistleblowers came forward. We spoke to a former detective in Greater Manchester who revealed that he was shut down by police officers in West Yorkshire when he started working, and revealed an abuse network in Bradford there. And we also started to compile some of that evidence. We worked with some researchers called Crime Spotlight, and we gathered for the first time our own audit. While Baroness Casey was working on it, we did our own, and we found trafficking routes that I hope we can show you now right across the country, showing the links between these gangs. There it is now. While a lot of work had been done on the grooming gangs before GB News came on the scene, our work was to show people that this was not a case of isolated gangs in a few northern towns and cities or the West Midlands, such as Telford, but actually this is an organised national network linked by clannishness, linked by culture, and also Class A drugs and guns. These are organised criminal gangs, Michelle. And when we had those findings, we also could show where grooming gangs had operated around the country. The case, I think we made the case for a public inquiry at GB News, and we were very grateful that in June, Baroness Casey backed up our findings, and Chris Hope was on a flight to Canada with the PM when he said, do you know what, I've heard her recommendation, we're going to launch an inquiry. I was luckily working that Saturday here, and we got to break the news to the country that a public inquiry on the grooming gangs was coming. I mean, it was a surprise when he said it. We didn't think it. We don't normally go through all the areas you might ask about. We asked about grooming gangs, small boats and so forth. But for him to announce that on that flight over, extraordinary.
So GB News are now echoing this year, irrespective of what Charlie says, and you can have a look at him, and I like the guy, wished him a Merry Christmas, but he does not come from this world. The clan stuff, the gangs, the heroin, how these were not isolated incidents, they were organised national networks. The word he avoids using, because it would make it very clear where this work came from, is cartel. We've made reference to cartels right from the outset, and these are organised criminal cartels. And what they still continue to omit, is the other elements of this. And that's the political protection. To this day, nothing. Why? You don't have to have me on. If you take my work, that's fine. My work's there, you know, it's shared for free. Has been. From the outset, no issue whatsoever. But why? Why will you not talk about the politicians? Why will you not talk about the anti-white racism within the white middle class? And if you can airtime nutcases like that woman before, and there's so many of them that they do airtime, why to this day am I blacklisted? It's that, isn't it? Only stealing the easy bits, the bits that can whip up that anti-immigrant position. What about the politicians? I think that. I only do. I think that. I think I've evidenced that. From the outset, I've evidenced that. Which is why I shared something this morning. And it's about Andy Burnham. And he had an article immediately after the chair of the National Inquiry was announced, where he came out supporting her. No nonsense supporting her. And it was as we predicted. The Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, publicly rebuked critics, that's like me, you, who questioned the inquiry's new chair, demanding that we stop reading politics into it and to let the inquiry do its business. Leave it alone. Don't criticise it. Let them get on with it. This is, of course, damage control from a man who has everything to fear from what this inquiry might expose. Burnham is not some outside observer. He's neck deep in this scandal's recent history. As mayor, he commissioned, promoted and defended the Oldham Assurance Review, sold to the public as independent but designed from the start to avoid the most serious evidence of institutional failure. Burnham's fingerprints are all over this. Here's the article. Burnham backs Baroness Longfield to chair inquiry. You can see I don't make anything up. And it's written by Kevin Fitzpatrick. The review that Burnham oversaw in Oldham 3 years, I think, before it produced its findings, and then they tried to cover it up. And we fought tirelessly. It cleared political figures of wrongdoing. It refused to interview a single Pakistani rape gang survivor. And it accepted political explanations without testing them against the evidence. There is no plausible explanation for clearing politicians whilst excluding the most relevant survivors other than protecting the politicians. And this is all about politics, regardless of what you say, Andy Burnham. The Assurance Review did not interview a single Pakistani rape gang survivor. Not one. The testimonies it took from whistleblowers, they refused to record and took selective notes, of which whistleblower after whistleblower refused to sign off, and I refused to testify. Burnham effectively silenced every survivor. A process that clears political figures while silencing the most inconvenient witnesses cannot be called independent, let alone an inquiry. No innocent explanation survives those facts. Burnham commissioned a whitewash. Let me say that again. Andy Burnham commissioned a whitewash. He promoted it as credible. He used it, and other Labour politicians used it to block any further inquiry. And I'll show you. So there's no ambiguity. I'll show you. Immediately after Burnham published his whitewash, Debbie Abrams, Jim McMahon and Angela Rayner released the following statement. This is one of the most comprehensive safeguarding reviews undertaken. It is an uncomfortable and disturbing fact that abuse takes place in every city, town and village, and Oldham is not immune from that. No, we were talking about the specific Pakistani rape gangs, but see how they avoid that. Fourth paragraph down. Fifth paragraph down. This independent review also addresses head-on the false and often politically motivated conspiracy theories that claimed grooming gangs were operating under the protection of senior politicians. The review was clear. There is no basis for these accusations, and we are pleased that the report draws a line under this. That's parliamentary letter-headed paper. That's what that emblem at the top is. We hope today allows trust in the system to be rebuilt so that victims who have not already to come forward have the confidence to do so. Draw a line. Burnham was in charge of a whitewash. Sue me. The would-be Prime Minister was in charge of a whitewash that protected politicians involved in the cover-up of the gang rape of children. That is the evidence. The evidence is conclusive. Test me on it. Anywhere you want, anyone who wants to. Why will GB News not go anywhere near that? Is it cowardice? Or do they want to contain it? It's a genuine question. I don't know the answer. Merry Christmas to you, and thank you. He's one of those who's constantly pushing the work on X. Thank you. You can see how the assurance review was used to try and block any further inquiry. He even defended it in front of 100 people that we took to a council meeting. And they continued to defend it even after we exposed its deliberate omissions and even content within it that contradicted their claims. So now his latest intervention is so brazen, he wants people to forget that these failures occurred inside political institutions under political leadership for political reasons. Politics did not enter this scandal when survivors spoke out. Politics created this scandal in the first place. And then we have this newspaper article written by Kevin Fitzpatrick. Burnham's remarks are dutifully reported by the BBC's North West political correspondent. This matters because Kevin Fitzpatrick has form. In August 2013, I'll bring it up so you can see it again. You won't show it, will you? I'm sorry, I know some of you like Charlie Peters. I get on with him. It's not him. It's those who run the show. That's Kevin Fitzpatrick. He emailed McMahon directly about allegations of child sexual exploitation linked to private clubs and shisha bars in Oldham. Allegations that in the small print of Burnham's assurance review were proven to be 100% correct. Children were dragged off the streets into shisha bars in broad daylight and raped. Raja Mia is not a liar, and year after year after year, these shisha bars continued to lure children in and rape them. Senior council figures in Greater Manchester Police are copied in, you can see. Fitzpatrick had received credible information raising safeguarding concerns. He acknowledges contact within the local Asian community had expressed genuine worry about young people entering these venues. He then explains that at the request of Greater Manchester Police and the council, and following assurances direct from McMahon, the BBC agreed not to broadcast the story. A BBC correspondent received information about child sexual exploitation, children being raped, verified community concerns were real, then agreed to suppress the story because politicians and police asked him to. His words are there, in his own words are damning. He states he, quote, agreed to hold any story on the private clubs for the time being and had been true to his word, but for the time being became permanent. The story was never broadcast focusing on Oldham. He did something later, but he covered it up in some great amount, and the council celebrated the story that Fitzpatrick did later. It was a win for them. Also confirmed and proven in his assurance review. There was no follow-up investigation into the community concerns. No revisiting when assurances provide hollow. No escalation despite documented safeguarding concerns. Even when we released it, years afterwards, the BBC has never denied the authenticity of this email, nor disputed its contents, nor has it commented that Fitzpatrick's father was actually also a former Labour Party councillor in Oldham. Joe Fitzpatrick. Isn't that right, Andy Burnham? What worried Fitzpatrick, as can be seen in this email, was not child safety. It was his reputation with McMahon and the council. Look at what he prioritises in the email. His integrity, his good relationship with council communications, and his disappointment if institutional trust had been damaged. No parent had a clue that there was a risk, even though there is evidence showing that parents were supposed to have been told, schools were supposed to have been told. Look at what Fitzpatrick does not mention. Why is there no reference to safeguarding escalation, reporting thresholds, duty to children, public interest. Instead, here is a BBC correspondent received information about child exploitation, and his concern was protecting political relationships. And this scumbag is now promoting Andy Burnham 12 years later. Keep the politics out of it. Let them get on with their job. This is not journalism. Journalism requires scrutiny of power, escalation of safeguarding concerns, independence from political influence. What this is, I have a word for this, it's collaboration. That's what this is. The BBC has never explained why credible safeguarding concerns were suppressed following political assurances. It has never reconciled the conduct with any recognisable definition of public interest journalism. When reporters became part of the cover-up machinery, because that's what this is, they forfeit any claim to independence. Tell me I am reading this wrong. So, fast forward to now, Fitzpatrick's current reporting on Burnham is not some fresh lapse. It is a pattern stretching back over a decade. When he parrots Burnham's framing, sidelines survivor objections, and omits Burnham's role in commissioning a review that deliberately excluded Pakistani rape gang survivors from testifying, he's doing exactly what he has always done, serving power instead of scrutinising it. Being told to trust the process after decades of managed betrayal, well, it's not just unreasonable, it is insulting. The most dangerous moment for any inquiry is not its end, but its beginning. It is when the terms of debate are set and when the boundaries of acceptable questioning are established. We are watching this happen now. Key figures are being validated, critics are being marginalised, calls for calm and unity are drawing out demands for accountability. It's as though we are the trouble causers, we are the rabble, we are the ones who are the problem. Without us, we would not be here. This is how cover-ups work. Not through dramatic suppression, but through patient management of expectations, careful control of narrative, and gradual erosion of public anger until exhaustion replaces outrage. If this inquiry proceeds under these conditions, with compromised politicians setting limits and complicit media smoothing resistance, it will become just another expensive exercise in institutional self-protection. So I ask the question again, why is GB News refusing to interview me? Why, when GB News and every journalist in this country knows that if not for the campaign in Oldham, there would be none of what is taking place now? And come to Oldham and ask anyone in this town who has been at the forefront of that campaign. Every genuine exposure of grooming gang failures has come from those the system has tried to silence. survivors who refused to disappear, whistleblowers who risked everything, campaigners who would not be bought off. It has never come from politicians and never come from those demanding patience. Burnham's intervention is not defending justice. It is defending himself. The inquiry has yet to begin, but the cover-up has already started. What Burnham doesn't realise is that when we map this out, when we plan this, the national inquiry is not the ending. We knew this was going to happen. You saw me on the steps of Rochdale Town Hall, before any of this came out, confirm that the national inquiry will be a cover-up. The national inquiry is not our ending. It is our beginning. Burnham should be afraid. He knows exactly what he faces. He commissioned a review that cleared his allies while silencing survivors. Those are called harsh truths. He defended a process that excluded Pakistani rape gang victims. He tried to block any further inquiry. Now he is desperately trying to manage expectations before the real investigation begins. He thinks containing the inquiry's scope will protect him. Well, if he thinks that, he's wrong. The evidence of his role in commissioning institutional cover-up is already established, and GB News do not have to report it because GB News did not get this here. The people of this country got this here using social media and their own networks. The only question I have is, do we have what it takes to continue another year and another year and another year after that? Many of you are new on this journey with me over the last 12 months. There are 6 years before this for us. We are 7 years in. It will take us 10 years before we get to a place where this becomes something else entirely. And these people know that the inevitability is not another cover-up with lessons learned report, but rather politicians and police officers in prison. Burnham's intervention is not defending justice. He knows what's coming. It is desperately defending himself. He is afraid, and he has every reason to be afraid. Because as each day goes, our numbers are growing at a rate never before seen. The truth is the truth is the truth. And it is exactly that. On that, We made it past 9,000 subscribers. There's been a massive upshoot recently on our analytics on Redwall and the Rabble. You can see that there. Thank you to all of you who've been encouraging others to sign up. The exact number now, I'll tell you. Just give me 1 second. $9,366. No one's asked me back, mate. I'm a serious man, mate. I'm a very serious man. And I'm not everyone's cup of tea. If you are finding value in this transmission, I've not stopped to encourage people so far this evening. First of all, my apologies for the delayed start. I now have fibre, but I'm still trying to have the internet speed that my software is capable of, and my camera is capable of, and my broadband or fibre is now capable of, to match what YouTube is capable of, and what my iPad can manage as well. So that is going to take a little bit of tweaking, but we'll get there. You know, I'm looking at the stream and it's showing excellent, and hopefully, and I've enhanced the sound and the picture quality, so hopefully this is better this evening. Please, if you find value in this work that I do, please support me. It's very, very straightforward. I've got a little bit more to go through this evening, but I'm just going to pause for this. redwallandtherabble.co.uk. You don't even have to pay, just sign up. If you can afford to buy me a coffee, thank you. Or if you're interested in super chatting and making it easy for yourselves, thank you so much. Thank you. Roy's great. Always comes along and supports me. Thank you. And you, Chris. All of you have. The people who tend to support me using super chats tend to be familiar thick names. Hopefully, if I've not met you so far in real life, hopefully I'll meet you someday soon in real life. My battery's about to run out on this, so I'm going to play the next video I'm going to play. It's only so short. So that's Mohammed Imran Ali, Irish Pakistani gangster, Dale Cregan's getter driver, openly standing for election in Oldham, in my hometown, in the Werneth ward. Last year, he was one of the chief campaigners. Thank you, Darcy. He was one of the chief campaigners for the Labour Party. Celebrated with Arood Shah when she won elections. He's a Labour Party guy, drove around with Labour Party banners. Now he's standing as an independent in Werneth because the existing councillor there is a Labour Party councillor. He wants rid of him. And the Labour Party, Machinery, McMahon, Arood Shah, none of them will say anything about how a convicted heroin dealer and getaway driver for a cop killer is openly running to become a representative of a ward as councillor. Convicted heroin dealer. Who do you think bought the heroin, and where do you think the heroin went? Into the arms of young women. Many of these young women we now know were trafficked and gang raped by hordes of Pakistani men. You can look on the Manchester Evening News. You'll also find that at the time when Viagra was illegal, he was done for selling Viagra. Who do you think bought the Viagra? We are fighting. We will stop them. Whether we stop him becoming a councillor, I don't know, but we are fighting in our town. My friend Gary's here somewhere. He's the campaign manager now, aren't you, Gary? For reform in Oldham. I don't get drawn into arguments, reform, advance, whatever. The only show in town in our town is reform. Advance don't exist in any organised or credible way. There's an election looming in a couple of months. We all need to get behind Gary, Lewis and the others if you're in my town, and I'll be supporting them. And if I can support you where you are, please just get in touch. I have no choice in this. I'm too far in. I went for a meal earlier with my daughter and 2 of my friends. Small Indian restaurant. It's like our Christmas meal. And on the way out, a gentleman stopped me to shake my hand and tell me, I met you before I voted for you. He did vote for me. And on the way out, another gentleman, and I think his mum, she would have been in her 80s, 90s possibly, wanted to stop and talk to me. I owe it to these people. You owe it to yourselves, your families, your children, your grandchildren. And maybe we can all look at each other one day and be proud that we had the strength of will and the courage to see this through. Please, if you find value in my work, support me. My intention is to come back tomorrow or the day after. Everything I know on the grooming gangs, I have condensed into something very specific. I could just record it and put it out. I would rather not. I would rather share it with you whilst you're chatting and talking to me. And then there's something on New Year's Day. And where we go next. They are not in control of this. By now it should be obvious who the monkey is and who has been playing the music. My name is Raj Amir. A very, very good evening.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.